What's up and welcome back. I'm John Stark from MacMovieGuy.com, your favorite blind film critic, and this is Immaculate. I rented this film. It's because it's a neon film, and I knew it would be going to Hulu, and I can't trust that it'll have audio description on Hulu. So I make choices. Um, it does have audio description, at least in the Apple Store. I don't know if all VOD platforms have it, but I can confirm at least if you rent it from Apple that it'll have audio description. Interestingly, it didn't credit the person. I mean, like all the way to the end, and he was like Black Bear Studios, and everything. And just then the film just ends, um, and never credited the person. And I was like, well, I guess I could watch an episode of Hacks and find out who this guy is. It's the guy that narrates Hacks, whoever that is. I'm not good enough with matching his voice to a name. I also don't know what studio produced this, but it's probably the same studio that produces Hacks. A lot of times, it's not all the time. I mean, talent does hop from studio to studio, but a lot of times they tend to work with the same studio. So I would have maybe guessed that it's probably whoever makes Hacks. But that's what the audio description is. Anyway, this film stars Sydney Sweeney. It's a horror film, and it's neon, so you can bet that they picked up, uh, you know, uh, a racy horror film. You know, I don't know what to say. Something that would grab your attention, not just your run-of-the-mill imaginary horror film. So, studios matter. It's interesting that when you put Neon or A24 on something now, it actually sort of piques interest, and people go, ooh, they're behind that. Oh, that's interesting. Meanwhile, like Blumhouse has kind of run their name into the ground, so now when you see like Blumhouse is making a horror movie, you're like, fuck me, because they'll put their name on like damn near anything. They tried to like even branch out with Blumhouse Tilt, and it's just like, listen, you've made too much at this point. You need to dial back, come up with like a new Blumhouse classics or something. I don't know. And just, but you guys make way too many shitty movies. Um, but not that I'm not saying A24 and Neon haven't picked up crappy horror movies before, but they pick up films at least that swing for the fences. So this makes a swing. Did I love Immaculate? No. But I think there are parts of it that are interesting. I think what's really interesting about Immaculate is its runtime. It's really quick. It's like 90 minutes. It's like a tight 90 minutes. And it's one of the very few films I would have advocated for more time because it gets going so quickly. We know almost nothing about Sydney Sweeney's character. She just kind of pops up. I would have cut the opening sequence because I think the opening sequence reveals too much and doesn't really make a lot of sense. So there's an opening sequence. I guess this is sort of a spoiler alert, except for it's also the opening sequence. But the opening sequence features a nun that we're not really introduced to. She's just a nun. And she's in some sort of panic, and she's trying to run and escape and get out from where she is. And then some of the elders in the nunnery. Um, I don't know. I'm obviously not Catholic. Uh, so they're trying to hunt her down, and she's at this point where she's like almost out of the gate, and then like they grab her foot, and like somebody grabs her foot, like twists it or something, and then she like blacks out. And I'm like, she's basically the other side, right? Like she's basically made it through. It's just her foot. And then she wakes up in a coffin. And I'm like, she blacked out because they grabbed her foot? I feel like I needed to see more in that scene. So, um, yeah. So you know that there are shenanigans. That's the problem, is that you know that there are shenanigans. You know that there are elders. You know that there's like a cultish mentality here. Instead of just opening with Sydney Sweeney and letting us explore what the hell's going on here, the opening sequence doesn't help the movie at all. by revealing its hand, by revealing the kind of film, you already know you're going to see a horror movie. So, what kind of horror movie is the better question? But the first scene kind of reveals too much, especially considering like where the movie goes from there. So, you spend the rest of the film kind of in the most predictable uh, set of circumstances. Honestly, when I heard that there was Immaculate, it was about nuns, it had Sydney Sweeney, and I basically guessed the plot of the film, and I was right. Like this basically goes exactly the way that I had predicted from the beginning, with some changes being like different scenes and interactions with characters and certain attack slash kill sequences or whatever. Like I couldn't have predicted how certain people die, but I got the gist. The title of the movie is too revealing. It's too suggestive. It's tipping its hat towards something. It thinks it's being clever, but it's revealing too much. And then when you open up with this weird sort of like cultish mentality at the beginning of the film, then you're like, yeah, I know where this is going. Um, so there was no suspense. It's also not a jump scare movie. I'm not gonna say there aren't jump scares, but it's not. Smile is a jump scare movie. Immaculate is not a jump scare movie. Immaculate is a film that has maybe two or three jump scares. And then other moments are just like thematic and tense. And then some are just like generically horrifying. There are some things that she does here that are just like, oh my God. Um, the ending is, I would say, would be controversial to a lot of people. It's a debatably controversial last moment, last mic drop. It's not really a mic that's dropped, but I would say it's. I would say that even people who are behind the film and who get it will probably go, I don't know. I don't know about that. Um, but I mean, she finds creative ways of using her teeth for things that we nowadays have tools for. I'll say that. That was a scene. I was like, "Oh, we we have things that can do that for you, but you're okay teeth, I mean, you're making the best out of the situation. I get that. I just do you have a knife? Can you get a knife? Can you get broken glass? Something? Anyway, um but it wouldn't be as shocking. So, uh yeah, it's there. Would I let my kids see it? I don't know. Probably not. There's some stuff here towards the end, especially where it's like, I don't know about this. Um, so yeah, it's got gore, but I wouldn't say it's like sufficiently gory. Like people who seek out horror films specifically for gore are gonna be like disappointed because this is also not that. Is it an Exorcist movie? No, this isn't like a possession thriller either. So if you're coming here thinking that you found the next Exorcist, that's not what this is either. So this is kind of its own thing. I've read so many stories about how Sydney Sweeney was attracted to this project, and I'm just like, why? Like, why? Um, was it better at some point? It's very obvious. The whole film was just very, just sort of like, I know where this is. Yep, that's happening. I know exactly. There's no character here that like suddenly turned on her, that was like her best friend or whatever, and was like, guess what, bitch? Like there's nothing like that here. Everything is just like, if you can't guess the ending to this movie, I don't know, man. You haven't seen enough movies. I mean, there are people who like they claim they're like, I knew I could see the ending of The Sixth Sense coming like a mile away, and it's like, okay, well, I feel like people wear that as a badge of honor because but nobody. We were not trying to. The problem is, if they did that, they saw Sixth Sense after everybody else because at the time nobody knew who M. Night Shyamalan was, and nobody knew that the concept of the film was to predict the twist ending. So it depends on when you saw The Sixth Sense. Like The Sixth Sense opening weekend, bullshit. No one knew that ending because nobody was looking for it, because nobody knew who this director was, nobody knew what the film was. But the film gained buzz because of the twist. So if you saw it like a couple weeks into the run and you were trying to sit there like uncovering the twist, I'll buy that. But if you're trying to tell me I was there opening day for Sixth Sense and I saw the bullshit, no, you didn't. But this is a film where I believe everybody will probably know how this film is going to play out. Um, does it make it bad? Not really. I think the acting is fine. I think the film has an interesting thing going for it. I just wish it had done more. It's so concerned with not overstaying its welcome that it kind of understays its welcome. You know, it's like it's like when you get that like one really good cupcake. I can say this as a fat person, so you get one really good cupcake, and then you find out the person made like a batch, and you're like, well, where's the batch? You mean there are more of these? Why couldn't I have more? And it kind of feels like that. It kind of feels like you gave me like one cookie, but I know you made more. You did not just make one cookie. Give me another one. Um, and I feel like if you had given us a little bit more and a little bit more lengthened it a little bit more, given us more backstory, cut the opening scene that reveals way too much. Your title is already revealing way too much. So keep us guessing as to what's happening. And if you can keep that happening and keep that ambiance of like, I don't know what's happening, what's next? Who's good, who's bad? I don't know. Who's in on it? I don't know. Like, if you can keep that level, then the film becomes infinitely more interesting. But because the film reveals itself like right from the beginning and then is just follows that, it really kind of just falls short, which is a shame because I think Sydney Sweeney really thought that this would be a project that would elevate her as an actress. I'm not gonna say she's bad here, but I don't understand what she thought about this film would give her, other than the fact that she gets to do a couple things on screen that are like, well, that's different, you know. Uh, that's a little shocking. Uh, wouldn't want to watch that while having dinner. You know, just like, but they're so fleeting. Like there are these fleeting moments of that. So it's not really scary. It's not really anything. It could have been more, and that's sort of immaculate. So um, I don't know who loves this film, but I'm both intrigued and concerned by that. Like I'm all about the fact that like films can be, you know, we can all have different opinions and you can like something and I can hate something and I can hate something and you can like something. But because this film is so obvious, I'm like, what did you get out of it? Like sometimes there's a question. It's not just a question of quality. With like humor, it's like people find different things funny. And so one person will laugh at something that nobody else is laughing at. And then everybody else will laugh at something and then there'll be like that one guy who's like, I don't get it. You know? So like humor is totally subjective. But because this like I guess you would have to really truly be bamboozled by the storyline, but I don't know how you could be because the film is so obvious the whole time. It even has this opening sequence that kind of gives a lot away. And it doesn't change that. It's not like it twists from there. It's not like it turns on its heel and be like, well, that was a fake scene that had nothing to do with the rest of the film. I think Shyamalan would have directed the shit out of this film. You know, I still remember The Village. You know, he creates this like great thematic thing with everybody in the woods, and you think that it's all like a, and then like suddenly she just walks out, and it's like, you know, what? Like, this is not where I thought this was going, but okay. Props to Shyamalan for finding the most bonkers way to end this film. Um, so, yeah, at least it would have, if you had had some sort of weird ass bonkers twist at the end of this, it would have felt like, oh, I see, that's different. But no, I totally called it. Um, so yeah, that was my experience with the film. The audio description, I could not stop thinking about how the fact that generally when I hear this voice, he's narrating like comedies and lighter fare. I don't think he was the right narrator for this. I think he's a fine narrator, and I think the written narration was okay. But there's something to be said about casting too. When you choose a narrator for a project, you have to choose somebody who thematically feels like they're right for the project. This is a dark horror thriller, religious thriller, somewhat supernatural, ship going bump in the night. The guy from Hacks just is not the right voice for this. um, Not that I'm not a fan, he's just not the right voice for this. Um, he's the right voice for a lot of things, perhaps not immaculate. So I would have gone with somebody who would have added to the theme, the tone, the creepiness of it all, because he just feels like he's narrating a different film. Um, it was very upbeat and very odd. It's a very odd contrast. But it's well done. It's well put together. It was recorded and mixed well. I didn't have a problem following it. I thought like I said, the written script was fine. I just, sometimes when you pick somebody who seems right for kids' films and comedies, and then you throw them into something like this, and it's like, why? I don't get it. Um, there's so many narrators. There's so many narrators that would have been great for this. I probably would have even gone with a female narrator just to help sort of strengthen the girl power behind Sydney Sweeney's character. Just to make this more of like a, girl power film, like, let's go, let's kick some ass, let's do this. Um, but I don't know, just choices. But anyway, that's immaculate. I would say it's not a bad film. It moves really quickly. It's a rare film that actually understays its welcome. So it's too revealing because it's trying to run through the plot at like lightning speed, and it doesn't really give you any time to like breathe or try to distract you or send you in a different direction. It kind of reveals too much. But Sydney Sweeney's pretty good in it, so I'm gonna lean slightly positive here, and I'll say I'm gonna give Immaculate a C plus. It also had really solid audio description, so I didn't waste a lot of time with it. It did have some scenes where I was like, well, yeah, okay, well, that's a horror movie scene. Congratulations. I mean, it follows it well enough, but did it like, reinvent cinema? I don't think so. So anyway, thanks for watching, thanks for subscribing, and I will see you guys on the other side.